This is Cultural Geography, in case you forgot what class you were in. This is the first video of week 6. So hopefully in your week 5 packet you did the 3 homework assignments and the quiz, and you turned that material in with your week 5 packet. Hopefully also you kept your cultural metaphor for the sub-Saharan African bush taxi with you, because of course you'll need that information for the test that you'll be taking this week. We are hopefully finishing the notes today. We are at big letter B, the Horn of Africa. That part of Africa that we're referring to is this area over here. On the east coast of Africa is the Somali Peninsula. Because the peninsula is shaped like an animal's horn, it is called the Horn of Africa. The 4 countries next to the horn include Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and Somalia. Let's get started. Number 1, Ethiopia. There's this flag. Ethiopia is the 3rd most populated country in all of Africa. It has about 75 million people and comes after Nigeria and Egypt. It is also one of only 2 countries that kept its independence from Europe. The other country being Liberia. Because of its mountainous interior, it successfully kept invaders out. It became the first country to defeat a European country, Italy, in the Battle of Adwa in 1898. Now, Italy did later on, under Mussolini, temporarily take control of Ethiopia in the 1930s, but after World War II, Ethiopia regained control. The last emperor of Ethiopia was overthrown in 1974. Communists ruled until 1991. In 1995, Ethiopia held its first multi-party elections. Local legends holds that the biblical Queen of Sheba lived in Ethiopia. Locals also believe that the Ark of the Covenant, which we haven't heard of for the last 3,000 years, was actually brought to Axum and is protected by the Coptic Christians in Ethiopia. So maybe the Ark of the Covenant really is there. Or, if you believe Indiana Jones, it's located in Area 51. Either way, it's an interesting idea. Of course, why don't we just go and prove it? Well, because it's in their Holy of Holies, and only their high priest is allowed to see it once a year. So we just have to take his word for it. The Ethiopian Highlands is a rugged plateau in northern and central Ethiopia. It rises as high as 15,158 feet above sea level. The Blue Nile originates in the Ethiopian Highlands. Most of the people live in the highlands because of the cooler climate. Farmers produce corn, wheat, cotton, coffee, and sugarcane. Speaking of which, Ethiopia is the legendary home of the coffee bean. It's believed that coffee began in the small town of Kaffa. Today, coffee is the country's top agricultural export. Blah. Of course, you already know my opinion on coffee. 61% of the people are some type of Christianity, 34% are Muslim, and the rest are a mix of tribal religions. Ethiopia is also the headquarters of the African Union, which promotes the common good of the continent. The Great Rift Valley cuts through Ethiopia. Ethiopia also has major highways that connect itself to its neighboring countries. And the Ogaden is a hot, dry, lowland region in southeastern Ethiopia, located in this area. This region was taken from Somalia in the 1960s, and most people today are Somalis who want independence from Ethiopia. Number 2, the next country is Eritrea. Eritrea is located right here. Eritrea, there's this flag. First of all, it consists of a plateau that rises to about 10,000 feet above sea level. There is a coastal plain along the Red Sea. It drills oil and it produces agriculture, yet most of the people, unfortunately, live in poverty. In fact, Eritrea has the infamous award for fighting the longest war for independence ever in Africa. 41 years. That's like 2 generations right there. Comparatively, the American war for independence lasted 8 years, of which not all of it was fighting. It was about 6 years of actual major campaigns. But Eritrea fought for 41 years. It had been an Italian colony until World War II. The UN made it an autonomous territory of Ethiopia, but when Ethiopia tried annexing the region completely in 1952, Eritrea revolted. When the communist forces in Ethiopia were defeated, Eritrea voted for independence in 1993. Today, Eritrea is a poor and restrictive country. Once you have finished writing that down, turn your books to page 486. 486, I want you to read the pink box entitled Families in Eritrea. Once you have finished reading that box, please unpause the video and we will continue. Number 3. The country of Djibouti. Yes, it has a humorous name to it. Yes, if this was a classroom setting, I would be hearing snickers and laughs taking place and shock from some students who heard this name for the first time, even though I've said it before in class. Yes, it's pronounced Djibouti. About the size of Massachusetts, it was once a French colony until it gained its independence in 1977. It has generally been a stable country. Controls the important Bab-El-Mandeb, which is the entrance to the Red Sea. The Bab-El-Mandeb is a 20-mile entrance to the Red Sea that controls any trading vessels going in or coming out. So you can imagine it's very important for international trade. Its importance is similar to Gibraltar in the Mediterranean Sea. International transportation, you can imagine, is the backbone of the economy. Because of few natural resources and very little farmland, the people rely on trade and importing its food. Some people raise camels, as you see the picture of a camel there. 94% of the people embrace Islam. The U.S. also relies on Djibouti's strategic location in its war on terror in the Middle East and its monitoring of unrest in Africa. Number 4, the fourth country in the Horn of Africa is Somalia. Colonized by both Italy and Britain, it gained its independence in 1960. Northern Somalia consists of hills that reach as high as 7,000 feet above sea level. The southern portion consists of a coastal plain that rises about 600 feet above sea level. Somalia has successfully alienated its 3 neighbors by trying to take land from all of them. It has erupted into anarchy in most recent years as clan fighting has torn the nation apart. In 1991, the government disintegrated and famine laid waste to the land. After civil war erupted in Somalia in 1991, the UN sent in humanitarian relief workers to aid the starving Somalis. However, the relief missions were unsuccessful, and in December 1992, President Bush sent U.S. troops to Somalia in Operation Restore Hope. The situation in Somalia had not yet stabilized by mid-1993, and the U.S. sent in more special forces. A mission to capture a rebel leader in Mogadishu on October 3rd and 4th, 1993, ended tragically when 2 U.S. Black Hawk helicopters were shot down by rocket-propelled grenades, and 18 soldiers were killed. 80 soldiers were wounded, and an estimated 1,500 to 3,000 Somalis were killed. President Clinton promptly withdrew U.S. forces from Somalia after this battle. This retreat is said to have convinced Osama bin Laden that the U.S. was nothing more than a paper tiger, apparently someone who could talks a big talk but isn't strong. Somalia continues to be an area of concern for the U.S. Radical Islamist groups, including Al-Qaeda terrorists, still use areas in Somalia as a refuge or staging area for future terrorist attacks. Somaliland is the northwestern part of Somalia, has declared itself independent, although no country has recognized this. Somaliland has a stronger economy than the rest of the country. In 2003, the region elected a president, and in 2005, it elected a legislature. Lastly today, let's talk about the two Sudan. If you haven't been paying attention to geography in the last 10 years or so, you may not realize this, but there are now two Sudans in Africa. Look at page 490 in your books, and it shows you a picture of the two Sudan. So let's talk about the first one. Sudan is the third largest country in Africa. By the way, the map that you see in this background here, this is what Sudan used to look like before it broke into two. But then southern Sudan, which takes up about this much of the area, is now an independent country. The third largest country in Africa, it's similar to Egypt to the north in geography. In ancient times, it was ruled by Egypt and then the Arabs in the Middle Ages. The British later gained control of Egypt and Sudan. It gained its independence in 1956. It used to be the largest country in Africa until South Sudan broke off in 2011 and became its own country. Civil war lasting over 50 years hindered development. That's a long time. I mean, think about comparison. The U.S. Civil War only was about 4 years. This one was over 50. Most Sudanese speak Arabic. Half the people are black, and Arabs make up about 40%. Muslims consist of 70% of the population, mostly in the north, while Christians and animists make up the rest, mostly in the south. The Civil War was between the northern Muslims who tried to establish Muslim law and the southern Christians and animists. Since 2003, they've dealt with genocide in the western Darfur region. Remember, the Darfur region is one of those land features you need to know on the test. Some fighting still occurs today as over 200,000 people have been killed and 2 million have lost their homes. The northern part consists of the Sahara and Libyan deserts. Although Sudan is about 1/4 the size of the U.S., most of the land consists of deserts or swamps. Cataracts, these are falls or rapids on the Nile River. One of the reasons why Sudan is so isolated is because these cataracts prevent international trade from sailing up the Nile River. Khartoum, the capital, is the center of industry located where the White and Blue Nile meet. Remember, the White and Blue Niles are the two branches of the Nile that form the main Nile River. The Nile River flows over 6 cataracts, which have isolated Sudan further, and about 5.5 million people live in Khartoum. Central Sudan consists of large savannas. Between the two Niles, grassy savannas are used by sheep, goat, and cattle drivers. Cotton is the country's chief agricultural product. And then lastly, number 2, South Sudan. In 2011, it became Africa's newest country. When the votes were counted, 98.8% of the people had agreed to declare independence. As many as 80% claim some form of Christianity. The Sud region is a large marsh in southern Sudan where the White Nile's waters spill into. These shallow wetlands cover an area the size of Maine. Much water is lost through evaporation. Rainforests lie along South Sudan's southern border. South Sudan, while still a new country, is dealing with some issues of being a stable country as certain groups fight for control of the country, but hopefully its future will be more promising. That, my students, is the end of the notes. For your homework, first of all, you guys have a quiz. It's over pages 475 to 484. Make sure you take that quiz. It will be found in your packet. Also, make sure that you do this homework. Page 167 in your activities book. That's a map of Eastern Africa. And then page 169 and 170. Please don't forget the questions on page 170. But that is a chapter review. So you see a matching section and a short answer section. So 167, 169, and 170 are in the activities book. So the homework, the quiz, plan for the next 2 days to review for your test, and then to take your chapter 19 test. Next time that we have video will be the beginning of chapter 20. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. Be good, do good.